These are the adventures of a temporarily out-of-work wife and mother, and this is my home improvement project. I am doing a project on my master and hallway bathroom upstairs. And this is day 8. It's been 2 days since day 7, so technically it's Wednesday, May the 14th. And I've gotten quite a bit done, but I'm not done yet. I'm preparing to paint these cabinets. Now, what I'm doing is I'm using the liquid sander to take the shine and the dirt off of the cabinets. I've already done the master bathroom, and now I'm doing the hallway bathroom. I reordered that paint that I used to paint the over-the-toilet storage cabinet and accidentally used to paint that wall over the tub. And now that it's here, I'm ready to get it popping. So you already know that I have to let the liquid sandpaper dry before I put the paint on. And since I started with cleaning the cabinets in the master bathroom, I'm starting painting in the master bathroom as well. I took the doors off the cabinets and put tape over the hinges. And then I did one side and part of the top of the other side. And made sure not to do the very bottom since I needed to lean it against the plastic that I put down in the tub so that I wouldn't have to clean it all off again. I'm recording in the kids' bathroom because they have less doors and less cabinet. And I figured that would be simpler to capture. Now, I purchased 2 quarts of the paint, but I only used almost 1 of those quarts. It did require 2 coats to have an even application. So that meant that I had to touch each door 4 times. So I had to come back and do this same side that I'm working on when it was dry. It takes about 30 minutes or so to dry most of the way. And then I had to come back and do the other side. And then I had to come back and touch up that other side with that second coat. So now I'm working on the cabinets. Now, I didn't tape off the floors and the wall in their bathroom because their cabinet was so small. And I just took my time around those edges. And of course, you see my Lysol wipes sitting up on top of that counter because I cleaned up as I went. And then in the master bathroom, I did tape off the walls and the floors to make sure that I didn't have nearly as much to clean up. But of course, I still had to do some cleaning up. And while the cabinets dried, I went ahead and put the plates back on the outlets and the light switches. And then I decided that I needed to put a little bit of putty around the side of that outlet because the previous outlet cover must have been a little larger because it hid that space between the wall and the outlet. And this one isn't doing that. And now all of the cabinets are dry, or at least mostly dry. So I am putting the doors back on. I did have to do some touch-up painting in some spots where it wasn't completely dry, or the reinstallation process kind of messed up the paint a little bit. But other than that, it all went well. It was a learning experience, figuring out how to put these dang on doors back on. They came off a lot easier than they went on. But I don't feel bad because whoever installed them clearly had a problem too. Because just about every door had multiple holes where the doors had been attached, unattached, and reattached to the cabinetry. And as you see, eventually I got smart and pulled up a seat. I don't know why I was bent over like that, like I still got Megan knees. And once I did, it was a whole lot easier for me to balance the door while I screwed it in with the other hand. Thank God for being ambidextrous, because I'm not sure how this would have been accomplished if I was truly right-hand dominant or a lefty. And by no means am I suggesting that this can't be done by one person. I'm simply saying that a lot of the things that I did do, I can see how they'd be a lot easier if there was a second person. You know what they say, 2 heads are better than 1. Well, in this case, 4 hands are better than 2. So now I'm measuring the cabinets because I decided that I want to put some decorative and functional knobs on the doors. Now, this top level is definitely not a real drawer. It is a false drawer, but I still, for appearance purposes, want to put a knob on it. I was whatever day years old this was when I discovered that there were breakaway screws. Who knew? So you put the screw through the hole and you figure out how much of the part that's coming through the hole needs to be removed in order for you to screw the knob onto it. Then you take 2 wrenches, one to hold the screw steady and the other to break away the part that you're removing. You have to be really, really careful not to twist the screw, because if you do, you make it virtually impossible to be able to actually screw the knob onto the screw. Thankfully, they give you extras because they know that that's a hard lesson to learn. So you see me here trying to make this knob screw onto this broke away screw. Some of them I was able to get the knob to screw onto the screw, and some of them I just had to throw away and start again until I got the hang of it. When I realized that I needed to exert more strength with my left hand, the hand that I was using to hold the screw, and be more expedient with my right hand, the hand I was using to break away the end that I didn't need, I was good. So once I drilled the hole into the wood and slid the screw through, it was easy peasy lemon squeezy screwing that knob on. However, there were a few instances where I needed to actually use a screwdriver to either screw the screw while turning the knob at the same time, or in the tighter spaces, use the drill to screw the screw and hold the knob. And to be honest, I mostly ran into that with the screws that I had kind of messed up the thread when I was doing the breakaway process. But like I said, once I got a handle on that, I really didn't have that problem anymore. The next task was waxing the cabinets. So this was a soft wax that kind of went on with a brush. You brushed it on, but then you had to let it sit for 24 hours. And then you buffed it out. And then apparently it takes about 2 weeks for it to completely harden, which basically prevents the paint from peeling off and also makes it easy to wipe off if the cabinet gets wet or something like that. With all of the cabinets complete, I started on the decorations in the kids' bathroom. So I installed the previous towel hook that they had over the sink, and I replaced and relocated their towel rod with a new one that was the same style but smaller than the new one I put in the master bathroom. And like usual, I did my tape and laser level method to make sure that I was putting that bar in level. Now this was funny because I was drilling the holes for the anchors only to find out that the second hole was actually on the stud. Thankfully, I did not go too far into the stud, so it was an easy solution. I just pulled out like men who are too irresponsible to wear condoms. So I just screwed the screws into the wall and into the studs. And this is me learning the lesson and making the adjustment like some of these men need to do after they done had one too many children that they weren't trying to have. All right, I'm going to stop with the deadbeat dad jokes. So now that we got the brackets up, we're going to go ahead and put the rod on. Now, I'm all for the invisible screws at the bottom, but somebody got to come up with a better way to screw them dang on screws in. This is ridiculous. Them little stupid Allen wrenches, you can only turn them so much before your hand or the Allen wrench hits the wall. And these are the decorative towels that I got for those kids of mine so that they would not snatch them off and use them. They match their existing shower curtain. So instead of replacing the shower curtain, I just replaced the shower liner. Their existing curtain is fairly new and it can just go in the washing machine. So I'm now working on their over-the-toilet storage cabinet. At the last minute, my noonie informed me that she did not feel comfortable putting anything that would go on any part of her body inside a cabinet that would be over the toilet, despite the fact that their very small bathroom has the sink right next to the toilet, and the cabinet has a door. So I said, fine, your brother's stuff and your stuff for guests will go in the storage cabinet, and you will pay for something to go under the sink, because all that stuff on the sink has to go, and all that stuff under the sink is ridiculous. Y'all know she has a scent addiction. That girl has a million body scrubs, body washes. But I digress. Anyway, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea for me to start putting this cabinet together at 9 p.m. on Friday, when I needed to leave my house no later than 10:15 in order to get to that part-time job. but I was convinced that I could do it. And I would have been able to do it if I didn't make one fatal mistake. So I'm always trying to teach my sunshine how to be handy, because one day he gonna be that lady's son that somebody else is marrying. So I told him to unbox everything for the cabinet, follow the instructions, and lay out each piece together the way it goes, with all of the corresponding screws and nuts and bolts and the like. And he did. But that did not absolve me from the responsibility of ensuring that he had it right. And I didn't do that. He had everything right except for one little thing. And even I could tell how he missed it, because when I looked at the instructions, I missed it too. I didn't just miss it once, I missed it twice. By the time I figured it out, I had taken this thing about halfway apart, and let's just say I was late for work, y'all. But the only reason why I didn't just stop in the middle of doing it and go ahead and head out is because you know how these things are. When you have it like part of the way put together, if you leave it sitting somewhere, it's going to fall apart. And it's not going to fall apart and you just put it back together. It's going to break something, and that's not going to be good. So I had literally backed myself into a corner. I had to finish it. I ended up having to have my noonie help me hold it together while I took it apart part of the way so that I could fix what I had messed up. And had it not been anything crucial, I would have left it like that. Yes, I am a perfectionist. Yes, I think that it's important that whatever you do it well, so that you can be proud to have put your name on it. At the same time, though, a door that has a magnetic closure should actually be able to close. And that was going to be the problem. The door wasn't never going to be able to close. So, nonetheless, we figured it out. Oh, and here's the cabinet on the Amazon. I got that thing finished, affixed it to the wall in their bathroom, changed my clothes, and got out of there. And then I was right back at it when I came home the next morning. And believe you me, that lady's son that I married was sick of me having all this mess in the master bedroom. I had a whole table set up in there with all the gadgets and gizmos galore, all of the tools, the paint, the brushes, and everything else. And every night when I was done, I cleaned up after myself and reorganized everything and made sure that I had whatever I was going to need for my next day's task. But that man was still not pleased. The next day, all of the decorations that I needed to finish the bathrooms arrived, and I used some of the water gel beads that I already had to create one of the decorations. This is what the beads look like when they went in. This is what they look like an hour later. This is what they look like 2 hours later. I added more water. And then this is what they look like 3 hours later. And then finally, this is what they look like at 4 hours later. And then I started doing the decoration. So I got these 2 cylinders and all of the pearls that I used from the Amazon. And I'll insert a picture or a video of all of the things that I got to decorate the bathrooms. But first, this decoration. So I had an idea in mind, and I decided that I wanted them to be layered. Black, white, purple, clear, black, white, purple. But then I realized that for the very small cylinder, that really wasn't going to work. And so I decided that what I would do instead is I would swirl the pearls that were in the large cylinder so that they would be like more mixed up in there and give that whole floating effect. And then for the very small one, I would do the actual layer. And for the layer, I would do black, white, purple, white, black, so that the purple would be smack dab in the middle of the small one, as opposed to making them exactly alike. One of the things that I really love about this is it's super easy to change your mind. So I may very well change this design later on. I could have poured it all into a big bowl, drained the water, then separated the beads by color, and started over. But since the only one that I intended to actually start over was the little one, I didn't do that. I just sat down and took them all out by hand. And since that's what I'm getting ready to do on the screen, I'm going to go ahead and insert the overlay of the things that I purchased. So I got new bathroom sink accessories for both bathrooms, the beads and cylinders for the decoration, some whimsical wall signs, and a pack of washcloths in various shades of purple for a washcloth roll decoration. a wall clock for our bathroom. For the kids' bathroom, they got a new touchless trash can. I got 2 sets of under the cabinet storage for their bathroom and ours, and got them a new toilet brush. And to wrap up their decorations, they got a flower reed diffuser and a new paper towel holder. And now to the bathroom. This is what that diffuser looks like up close and personal. And this is how their decorations turned out. Pause to read their whimsical wall signs.
You'll never have a broken heart. Though the world is cold, please remember who you are. And I pray that you'll never have a rainy day. And no matter what the people say, in your darkest hours I'll help guide your way. Those dreams you have, I want you to chase them, chase them.